Testing 1, 2, testing.
So in our book that we're reading, Paper Things, there are two children, Ari and Gage, who are homeless. And it's just about their struggles going with Ari going through school. She's 11, so she's
Okay.
in middle school right now. And Gage is 19, and he's trying to find jobs and trying to support his sister.
Okay.
So that's the book we're reading. And so read our first question.
So what made you decide to be a social worker?
What made me decide that? Well, I think when I was a kid, I always just liked to go to those helping type of jobs. At first I was going to be a nurse or a teacher or a dentist or something like that. I just always was interested in helping others. And when I was in college, I was in a major called sociology, and a lot of my peers and other students in that major were going to go into social work. So I decided that I would go ahead and go to grad school after I got done with college so I could be a social worker with youth and families too. You?
Yep. Do you have to act or talk in different ways when working with different age groups?
Oh yeah. Now I'm trying to think. You guys are 8th graders now, right?
Yes.
So do you remember when you were in kindergarten and I had puppy and snail puppets? Remember that? Yeah. So yes, you do. When you're working with little kids, you have to be, more silly and more animated, and you have to have fun games and songs and all those kinds of things. Working with older kids, you guys are more able to talk about what's going on. You guys are more able to talk about your feelings. You're more able to express and ask questions than little kids are. So I think as kids get older, you're more able to have a more mature conversation with them.
So like I said in our book, Paper Things, the two children are homeless. Do you think it's appropriate for a 19-year-old to be raising an 11-year-old?
Well, I think at that point it's not a question of if it's appropriate or not. It's more a question of necessity. So things in life don't always work out as planned. Is it unfortunate? Yes. Is it inappropriate? It can be done, and it has been done many times. A 19-year-old is considered an adult in the law. And are they still maturing at 19? Yes. They typically say that your brains don't fully develop out of adolescence till you're about 22, 23, 24 years old. So their brain still has a lot of development to go at that time. But I know people who have become parents at that age and have raised children successfully. So I don't think it's inappropriate. It's unfortunate that it has to happen that way because that young man's own dreams are put on hold, probably to raise his little sister, and it happens.
What do you personally do for the students that are in poverty or homeless or just going through a difficult time in general?
Okay. In my job in this grade school, we have some programs set up that may help. The government has something called free or reduced lunch programs where students and whose families meet certain income requirements. Like, let's say maybe you have one working parent in your house, and you have lots of kids in your house. The more things going on with you can meet certain requirements, and you can get free lunches and free breakfast at school, or you can get it for a cheaper cost. So that's one thing that the government helps us do for families. Every year we try to gather a list of families that might be struggling with buying all the school supplies for the kids, because that's can become really pricey. So we try to maybe get some organizations in town like churches or youth groups, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts around to help us get donations of school supplies, or we will buy them ourselves. We also do a food program called Backpack Buddies, where on weekends, if the kids need maybe some extra snacks or extra food for the weekend, I go to the food bank in Bloomington and get food, and we pack those. Actually, I have someone from the high school over right now packing those to go home with kids today. We also have a student fund set up where teachers can withdraw some money from their paychecks automatically, and it's put into a student fund where if someone is struggling and I need to go buy someone PE shoes or a winter coat or hats or gloves or other school supplies that come up, we can access that money and buy that for them. We've also used that fund to help families with their heating bills in the winter. So those are kind of a lot of the things that we do for kids in our district.
Can you tell us what you do, like, emotionally for the kids? Like, how do you help them deal with how they're feeling?
With how they're feeling? Well, I have counseling hours in my office where I can meet with kids one-on-one or in a small group, and we can do some counseling. I also can help them find resources in the community here in Hayworth or in Bloomington Normal that will, provide counseling for them and their family as well, or other services that they may need, such as help with their rent or help with their utilities or eyeglasses. That's another thing that we help with a lot, is eyeglasses for students. And our school also has a dentist come in. I forgot about that, to help people that don't have health and dental insurance. A dental, they'll help clean and give kids exams too. That's another thing that we do.
Ari, the youngest one in our book, has a drastic drop in academic performance. The school, however, doesn't notice something is wrong until she tells them. What signs can school employees look for in students that show they need help?
What signs do we look for? Well, one thing you said is a drastic change. You mentioned those words. Hayworth typically knows its students pretty well. I think a lot of the teachers and staff live here, and they know the community pretty well. I look for things like not turning in their homework or a change in their mood. Maybe they don't look as put together as they once did. Maybe they're not bathing or taking care of those needs. Maybe they're sitting in lunch and they're not eating very much. Maybe we notice them that they look like they've been crying. Rumors from other kids come around and we hear things like that. So I guess just any change in their appearance, their eating habits, their ability to just manage their daily life of school, which includes schoolwork and peer relations. Maybe they're withdrawing from things. Maybe they're not showing up to their practice, things like that.
What steps is our school taking to improve the situation of students who need help?
In Hayworth, some of the things I mentioned earlier, there is a homeless student law called the McKinney-Vento Act, and Mr. Bradshaw, I know, is the liaison and the coordinator for that program here in Hayworth, which just means the federal government gives states funds to help with that. So I have kits in my storage area at the grade school, which includes, they're made for homeless youth. It's a backpack that has lots of school supplies in there. It has lots of shampoos and brushes and toothpaste and toothbrushes that if someone comes into our district needing that, we will give those to them. In Hayworth, we typically don't have like homeless on the streets per se, but we do have I think last year about 29% of our district was considered low income, and about one out of three-ish kids are considered low income in our district. And about 2% of our district last year, I think, was homeless. And that wasn't someone that was living on the streets. It was more, maybe they were in a situation where they lost the place they lived, so they came to Hayworth and they stayed with someone they knew. Or they were, someone in the family was raising the kid temporarily. Okay, those would qualify you as being homeless in our district. So for those students, that's probably where that 2% is coming from.
Do you think our school is doing enough to help students in Do you think our school is doing enough to help students in need? If not, what can we do better?
Do I think our school is doing a good job of that? Was that your question, Reagan?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I got distracted by that falling down. As a district, I think we have a very caring staff in Hayworth. I know we do a lot and go over and above, and teachers are coming to us all the time, like, I'm worried about this student, there's something going on, or they need this and they don't have it, and we will really try our best to find a way to get that for them. We are very fortunate where, like I said, we only had 2% of our whole population, meeting that homeless criteria, and only 29% of our families are low income. So, 98% of our kids in our district are not homeless, and about 71% are not considered low income. So, in our district, we don't have a huge need. So I think that we do a good job in taking care of the ones that we do have.
In Paper Things, Ari has a lot of different emotions running through her from losing a parent. Being homeless and losing friends, based on your experience, what are children's emotions like when they go through a difficult time?
Okay, so I have a question about the story. Now, where are the parents are deceased?
Yeah.
Both the mom and the dad? Okay.
Their father died in war before Ari was born.
Okay.
And it's Ari lost her mother in 2nd grade.
Okay. And what decade does this take place?
Like
what year?
Modern year, like
So
early 2000s.
Early 2000s. Okay. Okay. So your question. Sorry for the interruption, but your question was.
Like, how do you think that children deal with their emotions through a difficult time?
Well, it depends on the kid. Some kids just lock it all in like it never happened, and looking at them, you would not think anything horrible had happened to them. Those feelings and emotions, I always say, are like a water balloon. You fill it up. If you keep filling it up with water, what's going to happen? Okay, so, or you shake that bottle of pop, and those bubbles, you open it up and it explodes. So usually the kids that hold it all in and they don't deal with it, they don't manage their feelings, they just deny that it's happening, those feelings just grow and grow, and they become more unmanageable as time goes on. So some kids handle it that way. Some kids will handle it where they get really clingy, and they have a hard time separating from the people that are their caregivers at that time. And a lot of anxiety will come into play because they feel like they have no control over the situation going on. And when you have no control over something, naturally you're going to get anxious, and you're going to try to have some control over things. And another way kids is just acting out. They may become, more behavior problems. So a lot of times kids don't know how to deal with their emotions. So we often say that a lot of times little kids' behavior is them speaking about their feelings. So if they're acting out and doing things, that it's probably some sort of emotions going on inside that they just don't have a way to communicate with us. So usually that's kind of the 3 ways I see it. They isolate and hold it in, they act out, or they become overly anxious.
What are ways that students can be more compassionate and understanding towards homeless poverty-stricken peers?
Just, be kind, be friendly, be respectful. Don't harass people for the way they look, the way they dress. Don't judge people for where they live, what kind of car they may have, or what kind of clothes they have. Just always be, have empathy and compassion, and know that what's really on the inside matters, and that reaching out to certain students that need a friend is the way to go.
What are ways you help children cope?
With coping? Well, there's lots of ways to help with coping skills. depends on what the problem, what the strongest